To save his first love's company, Luis sent me into the client's room. He did it without the slightest concern that I was his fiancée. Selena, our family has taken care of you for so many years. It's time for you to repay us. Later, Luis waited at the hotel entrance, planning to rush in and rescue me after I struggled desperately, so everything would look justified. Instead, what he heard was my strained voice from inside. It hurts, be gentler. That night, the always composed young master lost his mind. He lifted a chair and smashed it against the door over and over, his eyes bloodshot, begging his own fiancée to come out. Chapter 1. When I handed the documents to Luis for his signature, he spoke slowly. There's a gathering tonight. Come with me. After that, he looked me up and down and let out a mocking laugh. Remember to change your clothes. This is a proper event, not somewhere for you to seduce people. I didn't understand what was improper about the plain professional suit I was wearing. Still, I nodded obediently. I understand. After all, I was his secretary now. After all, I owed his family, so I could only roll my eyes at him in silence. That evening, I tied my hair up and changed into a red, knee-length dress. The neckline rose all the way to my collarbone, yet it still couldn't hide my curvy figure. Paired with my striking looks, as Luis's mother liked to say, this kind of woman just looks improper at first glance. Because of their slander, I once doubted myself. Back in high school, I didn't dare wear fitted clothes. I hunched my shoulders, afraid of being seen. By the time I got to college, I was already a 30-60. It was only with my roommate's encouragement that I finally understood. Proper? What kind of proper? My rules are the rules. No matter what body type, every girl has the right to bloom in her own way. Shame should never belong to us. It belongs to those with filthy thoughts. As I got into the car, Luis's gaze lingered on my long neck and bare legs. His expression darkened. He checked the time, decided not to make trouble, only told me to let my hair down, then ordered the driver to leave. I didn't understand what he was on about, but I let my hair down anyway. Thankfully, once we arrived at the club, Luis had no time to bother with me, because Emma had arrived as well. Chapter 2. Emma was Luis's college classmate and his first love. One was the campus heartthrob, the other the school beauty. Rumors about them had spread endlessly back then. Many people said that if it weren't for me, his fiancée, the two of them would have already been together. Today, Emma wore a white dress. She looked gentle, elegant, and refined. Exactly the kind of proper young lady Luis liked. When she saw me, Emma looked me up and down calmly and smiled softly. So this is Selena? I see, the rumors weren't exaggerated. I smiled back but didn't respond. Not exaggerated, whatever those rumors were. They certainly weren't flattering. Inside the private room, everyone had arrived. Only the three of us were left. The moment I stepped in, I met the gaze of the man sitting at the center. It was Joel, the main figure of the evening. Emma's family company was on the verge of bankruptcy, and only Joel's company could save it. That was the reason for this gathering. His eyes were like those of a predator, once locked onto you. There was no escape. Instinctively, I avoided his gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. There were only 3 seats left, one beside Joel, and 2 on the other side. Naturally, Luis sat with Emma. That left me with no choice but to sit next to Joel. As soon as I sat down, I heard hushed whispers around me. So this is Luis's fiancée? I didn't expect her to be this beautiful. Honestly, she might even be prettier than Emma. She's been with the Luis family for over 10 years. You don't survive that long without looks. If Luis really doesn't want her, I wouldn't mind helping him get rid of the problem. Before long, several men came over to toast me. I had no choice but to drink. Thankfully, I'd built up some tolerance from accompanying Luis to social events before. I tried my best to avoid any contact with Joel beside me. Still, my calf and arm brushed against him from time to time. I'd heard that this powerful CEO hated women touching him the most. I just hoped he wouldn't think I was doing it on purpose. Worried, I looked up, only to meet Luis's dark, gloomy gaze. Chapter 3. I didn't even know what I had done wrong again. Just as he was about to lose his temper, Emma reached out and held his hand. Their eyes met, and Luis's expression gradually softened. Emma smiled gently, Most of the people here are either former classmates or graduates who returned from Ivy League universities abroad, but we still don't know which university little sister Selena graduated from. In an instant, all eyes in the room turned to me. After hesitating for a moment, I said the name of my university. It was just an ordinary one, not a prestigious school. Probably many people had never even heard of it. Emma looked surprised. I'm sorry, Selena. I thought you were also a graduate of a top university like us. But that's fine, given your educational background. It's already impressive that you managed to become Luis's secretary. Because of Emma's words, the men who had been surrounding me moments ago quickly drifted away. What's the use of looks alone? No family background, no academic credentials. She can't compare to Emma at all. What school did she say she went to? Never heard of it. Some no-name university? No wonder Luis doesn't value her. She's fine for fooling around. But marrying someone like that would be embarrassing if people asked about her. They thought they were speaking quietly, but in truth, everyone could hear them. Or perhaps they simply didn't care. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Emma's satisfied smile. Just as I was about to speak, the man who had been sitting silently beside me let out a soft chuckle. Chapter 4. The room fell silent instantly. Joel raised his eyebrows slightly, idly playing with a gold, embossed lighter between his long fingers. He looked at Emma and said casually, "If prestigious universities represent capability, then what exactly is Miss Emma here to do tonight?" That single sentence wiped the smugness from Emma's face, leaving it deathly pale. She stammered for a long while, unable to form a single coherent reply. So it turns out that prestigious universities aren't all that impressive either. With a sharp click, Joel tossed the lighter onto the table. Emma's eyes immediately reddened. She had come here to beg for help. She never expected to be humiliated like this. Standing to the side, I struggled to suppress my smile. In my heart, I had already given Joel 100 points. Brother, if you're going to talk like this, please keep going. I looked up and saw Luis's expression. When he noticed me barely holding back laughter, his face darkened even further. That's enough. We have things to discuss. Go back to the car and wait for me. Those words were directed at me. As a secretary, I naturally had to obey my boss. I stood up to leave, when suddenly Joel draped his suit jacket over my shoulders. It's cold outside. Don't catch a chill. I stared at him in a daze, then glanced at Luis. Luis's gaze turned dark and unreadable. In the end, he said nothing. I walked out wearing Joel's jacket. Halfway there, I realized I had forgotten my bag. I turned back, and through the half-open door, I heard Luis's voice. Since you already know our purpose, I won't beat around the bush. I sincerely ask that you help Emma's family. Joel ignored the glass Luis raised and replied flatly. I can give her family a hand, but on one condition. As long as you're willing to help, I'll agree to any condition. Let your secretary spend one night with me. Chapter 5. My hand froze just as I was about to push the door open. I stared at Joel and sighed in shock. The smile vanished from Luis's face in an instant, as if he were about to explode with anger. Beside him, Emma quickly tugged at the hem of his clothes, looking at him with pleading eyes. Luis took a deep breath and forced a smile. You're joking, sir, with your power and status. What kind of woman couldn't you have? Selena isn't anything special. If you want women, I guarantee I'll find you better ones who'll make you happy. I want her. Joel cut Luis off, his tone leaving no room for argument, blocking Luis's way completely. May I ask what you want Selena for? Luis asked. Hearing that, Joel laughed softly. To talk. Do you believe that? Chapter 6. When Luis spoke to me in the parking lot, I never imagined he could go this far for Emma. Luis looked away guiltily, not daring to meet my eyes. Selena, our family has taken care of you for so many years. It's time for you to repay us. Yes, I owed his family far too much. When I was 10, my parents died in a car accident. It was his father who took me in. That was how I became Luis's fiancée. Luis resented the fate that had been arranged for him, and along with it, he resented me. But none of that was something I had chosen. Luis was about to say more when I spoke first. If I go, does that mean what I owe you will be completely paid off? Seeing how easily I agreed, anger flashed across Luis's face. Out of spite, he said, That's right. As long as you spend one night with Joel, we'll be even. With the way you are. Seducing men is what you're best at anyway, isn't it? I didn't hear the rest of Luis's mocking words. All that echoed in my mind were the words "we'll be even. That way, I would be free." Fine, I agree. Luis's expression grew even darker. He was about to say something when his phone buzzed. It was a message from Joel, an address. Arrive at this hotel within 30 minutes. 1 second late. And all promises are void. Luis hesitated no longer and immediately drove toward the hotel. When we reached the parking lot, only 3 minutes remained. Luis hurriedly dragged me toward the elevator. He was moving so fast that before I could react, I fell hard to the ground. My knee split open and started bleeding immediately. Even so, Luis didn't stop. At the very last moment, he shoved me into Joel's room. There was no one inside. Water could be heard running in the bathroom. He was probably taking a shower. Chapter 7. I walked farther inside and looked out at the night view beyond the floor-to-ceiling window. My emotions were a tangled mess. Thinking of how Joel had spoken up for me in the private room, I believed he wasn't a bad person. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened, and the man stepped out. A towel was wrapped around his waist. His upper body was bare, broad shoulders, a narrow waist, forming a perfect inverted triangle. The 8-pack on his abdomen rose and fell powerfully with each breath, wild and impossible to ignore. This didn't seem so bad. I swallowed unconsciously. Joel noticed me too and walked toward me. At 1.70 meters, I rarely felt oppressed by a man's presence, but when Joel approached, it was as if I were completely enveloped by him. Even the light seemed to dim. "Lift it," Joel spoke. "What?" His large hand closed around my waist. With a gentle pull, I collided with his bare chest. Feeling its burning heat, warm breath brushed against my ear. The dress. "Lift it." My pupils shrank. Wasn't this a bit too intense to start with? Chapter 8. After sending Selena into the room, Luis didn't leave right away. He stood outside the door, waiting for Selena to call for help. In his mind, Selena was his fiancée, someone who had liked him since childhood. She would definitely resist with everything she had. Then he would rush in to save her. No matter how powerful Joel was, he couldn't force a woman, could he? In the end, it would only prove that Joel wasn't charming enough to conquer a woman, and Luis would have fulfilled his end of the deal. For the sake of pride, Joel would surely help Emma's family. Luis bit down on his cigarette, a smug smile appearing as he admired his perfect plan. He took out his phone and called Joel. "So? Selena's already been sent to your room. If she doesn't cooperate, I can help you switch her for someone else. It hurts, be gentler." Luis's words were cut off by a woman's soft, breathy voice. His body stiffened. The cigarette slipped from his mouth and fell to the ground without him noticing. "No need. She's quite obedient. I'm busy. Talk later." When the line ended with a series of beeps, Luis still hadn't come back to his senses. Chapter 9. At this moment, my dress was lifted, revealing my pale skin. Meanwhile, Joel kept his eyes fixed forward, fully focused on applying medicine for me. Only when I let out a soft hiss of pain did his movements pause slightly, the tips of his ears turning faintly red. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, growing louder and louder, as if it had turned into pounding. The hotel's soundproofing was excellent, but I could still faintly hear Luis's shouting outside. "What's going on out there?" I asked. I had just stood up when Joel pulled me back, making me sit on the bed again. As he spoke, warm breath brushed against my legs, making them itch slightly. "Nothing. Security will take care of it." Sure enough, the noise stopped not long after. "I'm done applying the medicine for you. Now it's your turn to help me. You're injured too?" Joel handed me a cotton swab, then took my hand and placed it against his abs. Leaning closer, I saw it was a very small wound, probably a scratch from a cat. If it weren't treated soon, it would heal on its own anyway. Joel leaned back slightly so I could see it more clearly. Honestly, with those 6-pack abs lined up so neatly, I could see them just fine even without that. I dipped the cotton swab into the ointment and gently dabbed it onto the wound. Without thinking, I blew on it lightly, then felt the man's breathing hitch. "All right, that was reckless of me. Did you inhale?" I asked. Joel replied stiffly. "No, Fine, a Chinese man determined to stay strong for life. Still, the effect of tightening his abdomen was obvious. His abs looked even more defined. They got harder. Joel's body stiffened. What? I said your abs got harder. Joel seemed to relax, clearing his throat awkwardly. Oh, Chapter 10. After finishing applying the medicine, Joel spoke. Do you know what you're here for tonight? I nodded. I know. Joel let out a soft laugh. Then you still dared to come? What's there to be afraid of? My cotton swab lightly traced over his abs. Nice body. I figured your skills probably aren't bad either. Joel didn't stop my movements, his gaze darkening slightly. Selena, don't play with fire. I smiled and leaned closer. Yeah, I get it. CEO cliché. The next line is something like, if I start the fire, I'll take responsibility for putting it out. Joel looked at me with a complicated expression, as if he were looking at an idiot. In the end, he sighed softly, pressed his palm to my head and pushed me back, then stood up and walked toward the sofa. Relax. I don't take advantage of people. You can sleep peacefully tonight. I stared at him in shock. Was this man detoxing or something? I'd already said that much, and he could still walk away? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't he have pinned me down and done things? Joel tossed a piece of clothing onto my head, cutting off the colorful nonsense in my mind. Sleep. I lay down on the bed and couldn't help reminding him. Before you sleep, I really suggest you go take another cold shower. Joel's movement paused noticeably. I mean, did he really think a bath towel could hide everything? In the end, Joel went back into the bathroom. This time, he stayed in there much longer. When he came out, he was wearing lounge pants. By then, I was already feeling sleepy. In my haze, I felt someone gently brush my hair aside. Then a kiss fell softly on my forehead. Chapter 11. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Joel with his back to me, getting dressed. The man skillfully put on his shirt, buttoning it all the way up to the collar. Even though nothing was visible, my mind was still vividly replaying that dangerously good physique. I couldn't help patting my own head. Wake up, you hopeless girl. Hearing the movement, Joel turned around. Did I wake you? Breakfast will be sent up by room service. I have company matters to deal with, so I can't eat with you. Remember to take care of what needs to be done when you go back. My brain hadn't caught up yet. What needs to be done? Joel's eyes turned dark as he bent down close to me. Of course, cancel the engagement and leave the Luis family. If you can't do it yourself, I don't mind doing it for you. Me, that won't be necessary. Chapter 12. After Joel left, I took my time finishing breakfast. As soon as I stepped out of the hotel, I saw Luis standing at the entrance. His eyes were bloodshot, cigarette butts scattered at his feet. He had clearly been waiting there all night. After Joel instructed the hotel not to let him in, the only thing Luis could do was wait outside. So you really slept with Joel? His voice was icy, yet I could hear it trembling. Isn't that what you wanted? I didn't understand it. He was the one who sent me into Joel's room. What right did he have to question me now? I turned to leave, but Luis grabbed my arm and yanked me back, veins bulging. I was setting Joel up. Who the hell gave you permission to actually go through with it? Last night I smashed the door with a chair, yelling your name. Didn't you hear me? Why didn't you come out? Luis's roar was met only by my cold laugh. Luis, don't you think you're ridiculous? You were the one who said I owed your family and had to pay it back. What did you think would happen once I went in? Didn't you know all along? Or did you think that I, a woman, could actually fight off a grown man? Luis froze, because everything I said was true, and he had no way to refute it. The anger in his eyes turned into regret. He wiped his face hard. Selena, forget this ever happened. Pretend it never did. Don't tell anyone. In a while, I'll marry Emma, but I'll still take care of you. You'll never lack food or clothes, as long as you stay by my side. Listen to me. I'll let this go. I won't treat you badly. Luis reached out to grab me again. I dodged. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Luis, are you asking me to be your mistress? Chapter 13. Seeing the disdain on my face, Luis spoke as if it were only natural. Of course. What else? In your current state, Who else would want you besides me? You really think you still have any leverage to bargain here? So in his eyes, a woman's only capital was her chastity. I used to think he was just immature, afraid to challenge his father's authority, choosing to endure instead. Now I finally understood. He was selfish to the core, and he despised women from the bottom of his heart. What gave him the right to think Emma and I would willingly become his possessions? You're dreaming. Panic flashed across Luis's eyes before he sneered. You don't seriously think that just because you slept with Joel, he'll marry you, do you? Stop dreaming. Fairy tales where a prince falls in love with a poor girl only exist in stories. In reality, men like him calculate more coldly than anyone. Or do you prefer being Joel's mistress? His skills were that good. Huh? I slapped him hard across the face. A bright red handprint appeared instantly. I looked at him coldly. Is your mouth clean now? If not, I can slap you again, Luis. You overestimate yourself and underestimate me. Things like this mean nothing to you men, and they mean nothing to us women either. Using chastity to define a woman's value, that's the limit of your worldview. Luis turned his head, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and scoffed. So what can you do now? I'm canceling the engagement, I said calmly, and I'm leaving your family. Chapter 14. When I said those words in the living room, everyone stopped and looked at me. The first to react was Luis's mother. Her eyes lit up with unconcealed delight. She had never liked me. If not for Luis's father keeping her in check, she would have shown it long ago. Now that I was the one bringing it up, of course she was pleased. In fact, there had been several times before when I wanted to call off the engagement, only to be stopped by Luis. Every time, he would warn me viciously that only he had the right to cancel it. After all the benefits I had received from his family, I had no such qualification. Now, I could finally say it. And Luis, unusually, said nothing. He just stared at me coldly. Luis's younger sister laughed out loud from the side. Luis snapped impatiently. What are you laughing at? Nothing, she replied lightly. I just think someone's about to ruin his own life. Luis's expression darkened even further. Luis's father let out a sigh. As if he had long expected this day to come, he called me into the study and asked for my reasons. I didn't say anything. With his abilities, if he wanted to investigate, he would find out soon enough. Looking at the old man's lonely expression, I knew he genuinely cared for me and had always treated me like his own daughter. I smiled and held his hand, telling him that even if I left this family, I would still come back often to visit him. He smiled, patted my head, and agreed in the end. It's that boy who lacks the fortune. Back in my room, I began packing. I had lived here for over 10 years, yet there was very little I could take with me. One suitcase was enough. When I dragged the suitcase out, I saw Luis standing at the door. As I passed him, he suddenly grabbed the handle of my suitcase. Is there really a need to leave so fast? I smiled. Leaving you, I only wish I could leave even faster. Chapter 15. Pain flashed through Luis's eyes, yet his words remained harsh. Selena, if you leave now, don't even think about coming back later. I won't want you then. Don't regret it. Don't worry, I replied calmly. That day will never come. That very day, I went to the company and resigned. Luis approved it immediately, telling me to leave at once, no handover needed. Decisive and clean, exactly what I wanted. When my best friend Nicole heard that I had left Luis, she clapped excitedly. You should have left ages ago. Who does Luis think he is? Trying to have it both ways? If I'd been there, I'd have beaten him up properly. Let him know my years of boxing training weren't for nothing. I was unpacking in my newly rented apartment, watching Nicole wave her fists wildly on video call, and couldn't help laughing. All right, stop fooling around. Nicole finally stopped. I don't care. You've been busy non-stop since you started working. How long has it been since we last met? Tonight. Your time is all mine. We're celebrating properly. And Nicole's idea of celebrating was dragging me to a private room and calling in 10 male models with incredible physiques. Chapter 16. I tugged at Nicole's hand. Isn't this kind of inappropriate? Nicole froze for a moment. Inappropriate? Which part is inappropriate? We can switch. All right. True best friends really do reply without reading properly. Originally reserved. I drank a few glasses under Nicole's encouragement and gradually loosened up. We hooked arms, singing the most dazzling ethnic style and the ferryman's love. After singing, my throat felt dry. I naturally took the drink a male model handed me and realized this guy actually looked pretty good. Just as our faces were about to touch, there was a loud bang. The private room door was kicked open. Joel walked in, his expression icy. When his eyes landed on me, they turned frighteningly cold, staring at me without blinking. Before I could react, Joel grabbed me and yanked me up. I struggled instinctively. The next second, he hoisted me over his shoulder and strode straight out of the room. Only his assistant stayed behind to explain things to Nicole. In a corner, Joel pinned me against the wall, veins bulging on his hands. His voice was restrained but furious. Selena, you're impressive. You break off your engagement this morning, and by night you're already ordering male models? I was dizzy with alcohol. Watching his lips move, they looked unusually soft. Joel's voice carried a hint of grievance. So you're short on men? That you can get this close to them? If they're all allowed, then why can't I? Before he could finish, I grabbed his tie, pulled him down, and kissed him. Soft, just as expected. You can, I said. I never said you couldn't. The distance between us vanished instantly. Joel's breath was heavy in my ear. I unbuttoned his shirt, my hand sliding from his throat to his chest, then down to his abs. Before he caught my wrist, desire darkened his eyes. Selena, do you know what you're doing? My gaze stayed on his lips. I want to kiss you again. Is that okay? As I leaned in again, Joel covered my mouth. He stopped pretending. Go home. I'll let you kiss me as much as you want. Chapter 17. At the entryway, Joel pressed me against the door and lowered his head, kissing me deeply, unrestrained, possessive, hungry. Just how long had this man been holding back, so much that he couldn't even wait to reach the bedroom? My legs went weak from the kiss, my breathing nearly stolen away. Only then did he lift me and place me on the sofa. He guided my hand to his abs, his voice hoarse. Now you can touch all you want. That night, everything that should have happened and shouldn't have did. And it made me understand one thing. Some men's fire is not so easy to put out. Chapter 18. The next morning, I woke up in bed feeling sore all over. Joel's arm was wrapped around my waist as he slept behind me. From time to time, he rubbed his face against my neck and murmured softly, an unexpected sweetness he never showed when awake. I carefully got out of bed and went to take a shower. When I came out, I saw Joel sitting on the bed, his face full of regret. If he hadn't been so enthusiastic last night, I would have thought I was the one who forced him. When he saw me, the regret in his eyes peaked, and he even raised his hand and slapped himself. What are you doing? I grabbed his hand. I'm sorry. I took advantage of you last night. I knew you were drunk, and I still let myself give in. Punish me however you want. No, clearly I was the one who deliberately seduced him, and he was the one who gave in. So why was he putting all the blame on himself? You can call the police. Let me face legal consequences. I won't run. I sighed. I had seen people dodge responsibility, but never someone insist on taking all of it. I lifted his face and lightly packed his lips. Joel, I'm an adult. If I were truly drunk, I wouldn't have been able to take the initiative. Seeing his stunned expression, I sat on his lap and kissed him again. So, Joel, would you like to be my boyfriend? His face flushed slightly. He pressed his lips together and said softly, kiss me one more time, and I'll tell you. I wrapped my arms around his neck and leaned in. The next second, a large hand pressed against the back of my head. Joel took control and deepened the kiss. Everything fell naturally into place. Later, I learned that because of his guilt, Joel had actually been holding back a lot last night. Chapter 19. A month later, I rented a storefront and prepared to open a dessert shop. Nicole looked puzzled. You graduated top of your class in finance. What's the point of opening a dessert shop? I smiled at her. Does everything need a point? Can't it just be something I like? We seem to live constantly under others' expectations, assigning meaning to everything we do, but I like it as meaning enough. Pleasing yourself is more important than pleasing others. While I was busy setting up the shop, Luis and Emma announced their engagement. Social media was flooded with congratulations. Emma posted, "After so many twists and turns, you're finally mine." The twists and turns were obviously me. Nicole couldn't stand it and commented, "Yes, yes, he's yours. Congratulations on being locked together. Please don't come out and harm anyone else." The comment was quickly deleted by Emma. Luis, on the other hand, posted nothing. I heard from friends that Emma had asked him several times, but he refused to post anything, and they even argued over it. Life went on peacefully. After my dessert shop opened, stray cats and dogs often came by to enjoy the air conditioning. I couldn't bring myself to chase them away, so I took them in, bathing them regularly and taking care of pest control. Customers would often squat down to play with them while buying desserts. Gradually, more and more people took photos and posted them online, and my shop became a local internet-famous spot. Today, as usual, I was arranging cakes in the display case when I suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Is it really necessary to come all the way out here just to buy cake? This shop has been really popular lately. You hardly ever spend time with me. Now that you finally have time, can't you just stay with me for once?" It was Luis and Emma. Chapter 20. They were both momentarily stunned when they saw me, especially Luis. From the moment he walked in, his brows were tightly furrowed, his eyes fixed on me. He didn't even respond when Emma asked him which flavor he liked. "Selena, is this what your life has come to after leaving me? Selling cakes now?" I glanced at Emma and saw her glaring at me viciously. "So I was part of your little game too? What a pair of lunatics. What's wrong with that?" I replied calmly, "I make far more money now than when I was your secretary." Luis frowned even deeper, and there was even a hint of discomfort in his eyes. "It must be hard, right? If you want to come back. It's not like I can't." I cut him off directly. "Compared to staying in your own company and living off your parents, yes, it's harder." Luis's face darkened instantly. Ever since I decided to leave his family, I had stopped being polite with him. I said whatever felt good to say. The atmosphere grew tense. Emma smiled and stepped in to smooth things over. "If it's so hard, why don't I introduce Selena to a boyfriend who can help her?" Without even looking up, I said, "No need. I already have a boyfriend." Usually, Joel would come by the dessert shop whenever he had time and pick me up after work. It was just that he happened to be on a business trip abroad these past few days. When Luis heard that I had a boyfriend, his gaze was full of suspicion. Emma, on the other hand, looked quite pleased. She bought 2 cakes and left. At last, I managed to send the 2 of them away. I only hoped they would never come back. Chapter 21. That night, after locking up the shop, I prepared to head home. When I turned around, I saw Luis's Maybach parked across the street. He was leaning against the car, head lowered as he smoked. When he saw me come out, he walked straight over. "Didn't you say you have a boyfriend? Why isn't he here to pick you up so late?" I didn't respond and walked past him. Behind me came Luis's smug voice. "Selena, you're jealous, aren't you? Because I'm with Emma, you're jealous. You clearly don't even have a boyfriend. Yet you made one up to provoke me, trying to stir my competitive instinct?" I turned back and looked at him as if he were insane. "Luis, while I still consider you human, please try speaking like one. If you're sick, go to a psychiatric hospital. Don't come here acting up for no reason." I find it disgusting. Leaving him frozen in shock, I turned and walked away, ignoring his shouting behind me. Chapter 22. The day Joel came back, I went to the airport early to pick him up. His usually cool, reserved face broke into a bright smile the moment he saw me. He strode over, pulled me into his arms, and buried his face in my neck, greedily breathing in my scent. We were in public, and I felt a little shy, trying to push him away, but Joel only held me tighter. Several of his colleagues nearby laughed and pretended to cover their eyes. Oh wow, the overwhelming stench of romance. Is this really the boss we mocked for being rigid just a few months ago? Turns out there are no rigid men. Once they meet someone they like, they learn everything instantly. Their teasing made my face burn even hotter. Joel, however, didn't care at all. He introduced me to them openly, then dismissed everyone on the spot, giving them 2 days off. Ignoring their shocked expressions, he grabbed my hand and left. The old Joel was a full-blown workaholic. Taking time off after a business trip had been unthinkable. Once home, Joel immediately showed me the gifts he'd brought back. An entire suitcase full. I finally understood how one suitcase going abroad had turned into two on the way back. Joel's ears turned slightly red. Whenever I saw something abroad that seemed right for you, something you might like, I wanted to buy it for you. People who truly love you, even across mountains and oceans, always keep you in their thoughts. Knowing Joel needed to recover from jet lag and must be exhausted, I told him to go shower first while I unpacked. Halfway through, my phone rang. When I saw the caller ID, it was Luis. Chapter 23. Why isn't your shop open today? Do you know how long I waited? Before I could speak, he started questioning me loudly. What do you want? There was a brief silence, then a few coughs. Nothing much. Emma wanted to eat your cakes, so I came to buy some. My boyfriend came back today. I'm staying with him. The shop will probably be closed for the next couple of days. Luis let out a soft scoff. Selena, if you're going to lie, at least come up with a better story. Do you really think I'd believe that? Just then, Joel's voice came from the bathroom. Selena, I forgot to bring clothes into the shower. Can you help me get them? The mocking laugh on the other end vanished instantly, replaced by an eerie silence. I didn't bother with Luis anymore. I hung up and ran to bring Joel his clothes. After that came a flood of calls from Luis. I didn't answer any. He switched to text messages, asking where I lived now and who that man was. I blocked him completely. When Joel saw the messages on my phone, I worried he might be upset, but he simply pulled me onto his lap, his sharp nose brushing my cheek, our breaths mingling. My Selena is so popular. Why would I be angry? I'm just grateful that at the right time, it was me who met you. With just those 2 sentences, Joel managed to completely win me over again. After that, we stayed home for 2 full days and nights, without going out at all. Chapter 24. On the 3rd day, Joel drove me to the shop. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw Luis standing guard at the entrance. When he saw me with Joel, his expression changed instantly. Joel stepped in front of me, blocking Luis's line of sight. I nudged him gently. Go inside first. Some things need to be said sooner or later. Dragging this out is exhausting. Joel was reluctant. Is there anything you need to say that I can't hear? In the end, he gave in. Fine, but just talk, no touching. I was speechless. Other than him, who would ever touch me while I was talking? After Joel went inside, only the 2 of us remained. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but Luis looked much thinner. So your boyfriend is Joel? I nodded. Luis let out a self-mocking laugh. So that means I was the one who brought you 2 together? I didn't answer. Strictly speaking, that was true. So why did you come looking for me? Luis stepped forward, trying to grab my hand. I took several steps back to avoid him. His hand froze midair, then slowly clenched into a fist. His eyes reddened. Selena, I admit it, I fell for you a long time ago. Come back. I'll cancel my engagement to Emma and make you my wife. You break up with Joel. We'll pretend everything in the past never happened and start over. I found it laughable. Luis, do you really think that's possible? Why not? Can you honestly say you never liked me? I didn't deny it. When I was young, I had liked him, but whatever affection I once had long been worn away by his constant belittling and mockery. I could allow myself to give for love, but I would never allow myself to be reduced by it. Panic crept into Luis's eyes, as if he finally realized that when I said I was leaving, I meant it. He began speaking without restraint. So you moved on this fast? Is it because Joel is rich? Don't you think that makes you cheap? Chapter 25. He thought those words would hurt me, but in fact, I didn't care at all. So what? Men can turn around and fall for other women, even juggle 2 relationships at once, and women are supposed to erect a monument to chastity? After being rejected by you, we're supposed to hide in a corner, suffering for years before we're allowed to move on? Otherwise we're cheap? How ridiculous. So what if I fell for another man? At least I'm clean and honest about it, far better than you. Eating from one bowl while eyeing another. I like that he's handsome and wealthy. You men are allowed to judge by looks, but women aren't? Luis panicked. That's not what I meant. What you mean has nothing to do with me. Luis fell silent and closed his eyes. All the things he wanted to say collapsed into a single sentence. So I really have no chance at all anymore? Not even if I beg? I shook my head. You lost your chance a long time ago. Luis covered his eyes with his hand. His once upright posture finally sagged. He stepped toward the shop. I still have something to say to Joel. Don't come in. I waited quietly outside. I thought they would come out soon. Instead, the sound of fighting suddenly broke out inside. It grew louder and more violent. I immediately rushed in. Luis was bruised and battered, while Joel had one foot pressed hard against his face. When Joel saw me, panic flashed through his eyes, and he lifted his foot. Luis jumped up at once and shoved Joel. Joel fell backward, his forehead striking the corner of the table. Blood flowed out. I rushed to Joel immediately. Are you okay? Luis panicked when he saw me. He's faking it. He was the one hitting me just now. I didn't even use that much force. He fell on his own. Joel held my hand, his voice weak. I'm fine. Don't blame him. Luis exploded in anger. You clearly hit the table yourself. And you're still framing me. Are you even a man? Selena, you're not going to believe him over me, are you? Shut up. Whether he's faking it or not, I can tell. I saw you push him with my own eyes. You still want to lie to me? Luis tried to say something else, but I stopped looking at him and helped Joel up, preparing to go to the hospital. Chapter 26. After returning from the hospital, Joel sat on the sofa to rest. I poured him hot water and gave him his medicine. As I placed the pills and water on the table, Joel suddenly spoke. So you like me because of my face and my money? I felt a little awkward. I hadn't expected him to hear my conversation with Luis. Then the man unbuttoned his shirt and placed my hand on his chest. I'll always be rich, and I'll always look good. So, Selena, can you like me for a lifetime? Looking at Joel's pitiful expression, paired with his slightly pale face from the injury, I suddenly felt my mouth go dry. Where on earth did this man learn these tricks? I leaned in and kissed him lightly. Silly. I said those things just to provoke Luis. No matter what you're like, I like you. Chapter 27. I heard that in the end, Luis still broke off his engagement with Emma. Emma refused to accept it and had a huge argument with him right in the middle of the street. It was quickly photographed by passing friends and posted in a group chat. Nicole was the one who sent it to me. People always say that life doesn't have that many spectators, but there are cameras everywhere. Later, Emma's family couldn't swallow their anger and hired thugs to ambush Luis, throwing a sack over his head and beating him severely. It seems 2 of his ribs were broken, and he's still lying in the hospital now. These 2 families aren't done with their mess yet. Luis's father has been so worried over it that his hair has turned white. One day, at Joel's place, I accidentally found a photo album. It was filled with pictures of Joel from childhood to adulthood. When I flipped to his high school years, I was shocked to see a tall, chubby boy. He looked incredibly familiar. It was actually someone from the class next door back in high school. Joel realized I had found it and smiled awkwardly. It turned out he had recognized me long ago, while I had never recognized him. You really can't blame me. He looks completely different from how he did in high school. Back then, he was tall and overweight. Many classmates were afraid of him and didn't dare befriend him. I was the one who noticed him sitting alone in a corner and took the initiative to talk to him. At that time, I was also struggling with body image issues, so I wanted to hold an umbrella for him. I told him, no one can be liked by everyone. Since that's the case, why not be your true self and wait for people who truly understand you? If one day you really want to change, it should be because you want to make yourself happy, not to please others. You're so strong. You always helped teachers carry things. And when classmates were being extorted by bullies, you were the one who scared them off. These are all your strengths. Because of my encouragement, Joel began to like himself and made up his mind to lose weight. Not for anyone else, just to become a better version of himself and appear before me again. The man wrapped his arms around me. Now that you know my true identity, I'm still not letting you return me. Then he lowered his head and kissed me, smiling. I wrapped my arms around his neck and returned the kiss. What followed was an even deeper claim from him. How wonderful, someone I once illuminated, when I later fell into the mud, also used his light to illuminate me in return.